Well, I really, obviously, I'm really happy about the results. I think a lot of people may not have slotted us in this part of the bracket, playing a team that has had such a great season. Um, and at times the game looked ugly. I thought we contributed to it being really gritty and really workmanlike, and I was really happy for the guys that they stayed really on course. And I said, you know, I said it was an ugly, beautiful game, just for the fact that we got the victory and the fact that we stayed the course. So yeah, I mean it's been a wild and crazy kind of a season, and our guys have managed all but probably one game and a hiccup in the second game. Have been able to navigate it. So this is a really kind of a hard nut to crack, and when you play against us, and I thought I was, we're all really, really happy, really, really pleased about it. So we've got to put that away and now move on and see if we can do some damage. As I said at the beginning of the year, we can do some damage. I know a lot of the writers in our Milwaukee Tribune, the sports page, actually they didn't even vote that we would win the game. So I'm happy that we proved some people wrong, and a lot of people right. So thanks.
All right, we'll go to some questions. If Lori Nickel wants to start us off from Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel.
It's a tough job at the Marquette Tribune. You got to cut those kids. Those are tough choices to make. Be nice to those kids.
You know it.
Yeah.
You know it.
Any motivation you got? Go ahead and use it. I actually wanted to ask you about Allen. I understand that he had a very critical penalty kick, and that it was a great score. I would love to hear that in detail, but also, as I understand, he's kind of your unsung hero. Yeah. And as much as you have to have all the talent, you've got to have those guys too, right? What does he mean to this team, and what does unsung hero mean to you?
Well, I think we've underestimated, and we've actually put this kind of player on the back burner because it's not an obvious wow effect. I mean, look, we live in a fast and furious YouTube. Immediately there's a highlight, and if you watch a game to game to game, every minute of the game, and every minute counts in soccer. And Allen is one of those people. I mean, we have GPS on them and catapult. Allen's probably going to run more than anyone else. He's probably going to track people and defend more than anyone else. And he's such an important part of our team. And as he has matured as a young man and as he's grown, he's continued to be almost invaluable. He's kind of the concrete that holds all the bricks together when you're trying to construct a defensive wall. He's been phenomenal for us. So I can't speak highly of him. And he's got a whole story into itself, and that would be a great story. But the fact of he then steps up, and the goalkeeper obviously had to make a save, and he put the ball in the upper 90. Was fantastic. And we'd been practicing, I think, for 4 or 5 days. Every day at the end of practice, we'd do penalties. And Allen was very, very methodic of every single time trying 2 or 3 penalties. And on any given day, he has a specific penalty he's going to use. And he is very calm, cool, and collected, and workmanlike, I sometimes feel that when we say workmanlike, that's almost like a cringe, and it shouldn't be. It's absolutely vital, and it's refreshing to have guys like that on our team.
Nick Galley, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. First of all, congrats on the win. And
thank you.
No problem. Yesterday LMU had a lot of time in their attacking third of the field, had a lot of good opportunities, a lot of corner kicks. But you guys, your defense, really never broke. What was kind of the defensive mindset headed into that game? Especially against a team that you guys don't really see that often.
Yeah, it was to defend first and not give them any clear-cut chances. They had no one-on-ones with the goalkeeper. They had a couple of outside shots. They had a lot of the possession. And until we could figure out how to get pressure on higher up on the field, and if it would be productive for us, we never got into the into the groove to feel that we could get enough pressure higher up on them in the run of play. And they did have a lot of the possession, but when you actually go through all of the clear-cut chances, we clearly had the best clear-cut chance at the towards the end of the second half when Sam Thornton, I think AJ Franklin headed it on. Sam Thornton went around the outside and squared it across, and Lucas Sunnison inside of the 6 hit a great shot. The goalkeeper put a leg on it and it hit the bar. I think Chandler made 4 or 5 saves that for Chandler were routine. I think one of the good things that we did was keep our focus on, like you said, defending, so that those chances weren't great chances. They were, if they would have scored, they would have been opportunistic. And I think that our ability to prevent them doing serious damage from corners and from direct balls was a definite credit to the back 4 and Chandler. I thought he played fantastic.
Dan Evington, go ahead.
While we're talking about the defense, Chandler obviously came up huge yesterday, some big saves coming throughout the game and in PKs.
Sure.
What impact did he have yesterday, and how important is he to the success of your team?
Well, he's huge. I mean, we've let in 6 goals the whole season when he's been in the net. And he's got, I think EJ was telling me as well, a 0.54 goals against average. He gives us what we haven't got. I mean, I don't think we're very rarely the biggest in terms of height team on the field. And so for set pieces of other teams, there may be a vulnerability. He equals it out. He's very good at collecting crosses. He's also a guy that he thrives on. He wants pressure. I mean, we prefer for him not to have more saves than anyone else in the Big East, but it seems like he does, and he thrives on that. He's not a goalkeeper that shies away from some serious action and some serious pressure. He's kind of well, there are other goalkeepers that we've had that have had that kind of unique quality, but he really does like doing his work, if you know what I mean. I mean, a great goalkeeper is said that can organize defenses, so he doesn't have to face a lot of shots. He is good at doing that, but he's really good at just picking up the pieces.
Lori Nickel, go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is a general question because I'm sure you're picking up a lot of fans now who are just figuring out what you're doing. But with all the overtime games and all the success, I wondered if there's certain personality trait or talent that you see with this team that's translated to so many victories. I mean, it can't just be toughness and resiliency. It has to be some kind of leadership or
you're right.
What do you see?
Yeah, you're right. There's like a belief and an optimism that, okay, we've come this far, now we can get it done, that we're going to be, and you say toughness and resilience. I think when you've been defending and you've not allowed a lot of obvious chances, they don't allow fear, and they don't allow, oh no, I hope we don't do this. Hope, I've been talking a lot about optimism and hope. Hope is for fans because you hope for something that you might not have a lot of control over. I think, optimism and belief is when you've got a lot of control over things, and I think, well, that's what I'd like to think about. I'd like how we'd like to think of that, so that I think going into an overtime, there's a belief and an optimism that we can be in control of this, and we can control the way we defend, and we can control getting 1 or 2 quality opportunities to score. Now, we didn't, in overtime, we didn't have a quality opportunity to score, but we'd done our due diligence in terms of penalties, and the guys that stepped up all were confident and a belief that they were going to score. And obviously Chandler put that kind of good feeling in their hearts and in their minds with making a great save. So I think that's kind of, I'd say it was hard to put your finger on one thing, but definitely that we're not hoping that we play well. It's like, look, we can be in control of this if we continue to do the things that have got us to this point. You know, you don't have to change too much. You're going to get opportunities if you are, you know, you do your due diligence, and hopefully we can find a crack in the other team.
Thank you.
Sam Arco, go ahead.
You know, I can't see you guys, by the way. How do I get, I mean, I don't know what, maybe it's my phone, but normally I can see who I'm talking to. I've not been able to see any of you.
If you swipe on your phone, you should like swipe right or left. You should be able to get to a different setting where you can see gallery.
Aha, there you are.
See that? There we
Wow,
go.
modern technology. I've got this big fat finger and I couldn't do it. So there you go. I think it was I think it was a fire alarm that put me off whack. So all right, we got the phone in the right place.
All right, Sam, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Glad you can see me now. I mean, your team has been, doubted like this whole season, starting with the preseason rankings. Not many thought you could take this team to the tournament. Now you're here. Didn't know if you could beat LMU, and you guys did it. So how do you – I mean, I'm sure going into the game on Thursday against Indiana, it'll be the same story. I mean, how do you take this recent success, this whole season, and, just apply that to this game?
Well, for the coaching stuff, we have to do our due diligence, find out where Indiana might give us some problems that we haven't seen before, and then how we can give Indiana some problems where they might be more vulnerable. Those are the first things. So that is like business as usual. In terms of people not valuing what we could or could not do, that's their choice, not ours. But I will tell you this, and it's kind of an inside joke, over the years, we've tried to be purists of the game. We love the game. We love the way it should be. We think it should be played, and it can be played many different ways. And we've been known in the past, for being able to play expansive, possession-orientated, very an exciting game. And that's why we've sent a lot of guys to the pros. Because people have come and seen them. Now, this year, we've not been able to be as expansive. We've turned the ball over a lot. We've not had the possession of the game all the time, but we've actually shown a certain style and a certain resilience and a certain ability and skill to defend. And I don't think people will have naturally predicted that because we haven't traditionally been as aware or as tough to score goals against. We've normally said, well, we'll score more than you. And when we haven't, we've lost. So this year has been, I don't criticize anyone that hasn't valued us or didn't think that we would be good enough to do those kind of things. And no one could have predicted, all the overtime games and penalty shootouts. So it doesn't, that really isn't, it may have been a motivation for some of our lads, but that would be more kind of pride but we're proud of who we are, and we're proud, obviously. We try to instill every time you're going to put on a jersey that has a Marquette name, you're part of something bigger than yourself, and do your job with pride. And I have said to the team, I did say yesterday, I've got to say in all my heart, they are the ugliest team. They are the ugliest, most beautiful team I've ever coached. So there you go.
All right, just one or two more for Coach. Nick Galley, go ahead.
Yeah, just a question here, kind of aside from the game a little bit, but I was checking the weather yesterday in Cary. It was 80 and sunny. Most of your games, you get like 50, 60 degrees. Is it a hard adjustment for those weather conditions, especially when you're playing 110 minutes in a physical game out there?
Yeah, I walked out from the tent that was extremely hot to the field, and I purposely gone and bought a light shirt, and I was like, oh my goodness, I think I'm going to lose I was great. I'm going to lose like 40 pounds here. And then the players are running around. We trained over the 10 days leading up to this. We trained it was 38, 45. I think then it was in the 50s. We may have just touched 60s, and then we went back down again. And then we show up to train and play in 70s and 80s. It was extremely warm and it's extremely difficult. Really proud of our guys. Not only the guys that started, but if you notice, we made a lot of substitutions, and we had a rotation, kind of not an actual rotation, but anyone that we called on was ready. And there was a couple of times I told Gabe, you ready to go in midfield? And then turned around about 30 seconds later, said, are you ready to go it right back? So there were players, and credit to them. I was giving them, I think they thought I'd lost my marbles or they'd melted or whatever, because they were, we were rotating, not in a frantic way, but we were seeing who could manage it. And yeah, you're absolutely right. The climate made a huge, huge difference. It's not as hard to adjust to the heat as it might be to altitude. I mean, if you play in high altitude, you think you've got it, and then 20 minutes before the end of the game, your legs go, and you think you're playing in someone else's body. This is more like it wears you down, and the kind of, I know it's such a cliche, but going back into a lot of the mindset of our players and where they are. You look at Mersberger, you look at Samaron, you look at Lucas Sunnison, and they're like horses. They're just going to run and run and run till they can't run, and then they're going to fall over. And we're not going to allow them to do that. We're going to get them off the field before they fall over, and they did when I look at them, I'm so proud of they overcame what their body was telling them through their mind, and just, well, I've got it. I can do this. And they really did. I mean, Alan Samon for the first time came off, but he still managed to run more than anyone on. I think he ran about 8 miles in that, and normally a midfield player would run 6 to 7, and especially when you're defending a lot.
All right, last question for Louis. Megan Caffrey from the Big East.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Megan. Now I got to swipe right again. Oh,
swipe again. There I am.
No. Yeah, you are. Yeah, we got you. All right.
All right. I have to ask you. You have to let us in on the inside joke. Diving a little bit deeper of that. What does it mean when you're calling your team the ugliest, most beautiful team that you've ever seen? Could you kind of take us in with how just beautifully they play in that sense?
They've made the art of trying to destroy another team's pattern of play and breaking down, you're not coming in our area, and stopping another team play. And even though traditionally, we've liked to keep the ball and, move the ball in almost like a dance in a sense, and then quickly counterattack or build an attack. And sometimes we've been prevented from doing that, and we've not been quite as good at doing that as previous teams have been. Normally that might really offset you and say, oh man, we can't win. This team says, oh no, of course we can win, as long as they don't score. I mean, one of the first things, I don't know why we came up with it, but I don't know what, and I said, look, the very first game I said, if they don't score, we've got a possibility of winning or getting a point. And it was like, oh, I'll use that. And we kept using it. And the fact that the game is scrappy. I mean, there was lots of turnovers going back and forth. We let them have the ball, and we've done that a couple of times. Let them have the ball in their half, but when they come to our own half, let's stop them playing. And then when we win it, sometimes we give the ball right back to them, but then we try to get it back. And that's what I mean about ugly. You watch great teams Georgetown is a fantastic team. They keep the ball, they keep possession of the ball, and you have to wait, almost like you play with the ball and now we've got to wait for our turn. It's not like we're waiting for our turn. Sometimes we'd like to have the ball a lot more. And that's when I called them, I called our team a little ugly. But I said that, and I say it half in joking. I've been so proud of so many people that have played on pretty teams that played at Marquette, and they've been calling in and saying, it's a great job. It's a real win. And it's your guys have done a fantastic job. I say that not in a real criticism. It's just, we all love to see the game played, and we've played it really well defensively, and I'm so unbelievably proud of them. They're beautiful in that. I tell you what, that W looks really beautiful, and that name, that Marquette name on the round of 16 looks, probably one of the most beautiful things I've seen outside of my family and my wife. So
thank you.